Well, let's talk about the residential parking ban. It was on to allow crews to plow streets after the recent snow dump. It expires tonight at 7 o'clock. So that means here drivers have been allowed to park on winter routes overnight on a temporary basis so crews could get around. But it doesn't mean you're safe from fines. It also doesn't mean that if your car was not towed that you escaped a $200 ticket. If you're having trouble keeping up with all the rules around parking in the winter, you're not alone. CBC's Josh Crabb caught up with Joe Davis. He's a Winnipeg resident. He found out he parked on a street under a residential parking ban only moments after he walked into church.
They just said, sorry, but evidently there's a parking ban, and that was at about 10 o'clock when everybody was about to start.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was a surprise when you got here?
It was a surprise, yeah. But I was already here for a couple of hours, so I looked out, I saw all the cars were still here, and I took a chance. I have parking spots for both my vehicles in my backyard, and I don't really pay a whole lot of attention to it.
Do you think there's anything more the city could do to get the message out to people that, an area like this, for instance, they didn't want people parking on the street yesterday?
I think if that was the case, maybe put up no parking, put up a bunch of signs along the road. I think that would maybe help.
That's Joe Davis speaking to the CBC's Josh Crabb. Well, Councillor Janice Lukes is here with us via Zoom, talking more about this year's residential parking ban. Good morning.
Good morning, Marcy. Good morning.
So how often are you hearing from residents like Joe who are saying, I'm confused, I'm struggling with keeping up about where I can park and where I can't park?
I'm not really hearing about that. I'm hearing more, you left a windrow, when is my street getting cleaned, and things along those lines.
Got it. Now, what do you make of his suggestion the city could put up physical signs when there's a residential parking ban?
Yeah, well, if you think about it, if you were to put up a sign, where would you put it? Because when you plow the snow is pushed onto the boulevard, right? So it's not like the street cleaning when we do it in the spring where, we're not pushing snow against these poles. You'll notice a lot of times over the winter, the poles fall down because of the pressure of the snow, the ice that pushes against them. And also, it would just take a massive manpower force to put up signs and take signs down, and we don't even have enough signs, right? So that's out of the question. I think it's really important. The city has an incredible website on snow, and I think people need to just take a few minutes. We are a winter city. When we have a big snowstorm, and especially when we've got a snowstorm where we've got horizontal winds blowing 90 kilometers an hour, our streets get plugged up. People need to take that little bit of extra time and find out where these zones are that are being plowed.
How far along are we after last week's snow dump with the residential plowing operations right now?
Yeah, there's just, it ends Tuesday. It's today the 23rd.
Yep.
It ends tonight at 7 p.m. So we're well on our way to almost being finished. Most of the zones are done. Just C, V, and D zones are left to do. And some X. Those are the new streets and new ridings, new wards.
So let's try to make this clear for people who are listening to the radio. What happens once the residential parking ban is lifted tonight? You can't, and I'm going to just ask you if this is clear here. You have to know your zone when they're going to be coming through again, because you may have a parking ban locally. Is that right? And then you have to stay off winter routes.
Well, when the residential parking ban is lifted tonight at 7 o'clock, then you can park anywhere on the street except winter routes. And the winter routes are signed. And there's many, many streets that are winter routes. You can't park on those because they're primarily collector streets or primary streets that we need to get through with emergency vehicles or buses.
Now, if we have residential parking bans that come up again, and they will, it's going to snow, they're going to need to clear, and it's in your neighborhood, and it's under a ban, but you actually look and say, oh, okay, I'm under a ban, but actually the plow's been through. Can you logically then just say, I'm okay to park there again? Or do you need to actually still not park there because crews are trying to get around?
Yeah, it's 12 hours that you can't park there, because often what happens is crews will come back within that 12 hours and do touch-ups, tune-ups. Maybe a parked car has moved, they'll clean that up. They have 12 hours to do a zone. Now, one thing I have been hearing, Marcy, is that some of the zones don't get finished within the 12 hours because there's probably been a lot of drifting. Some of the zones have increased in size. They will come back and clean the street.
In terms of people who do feel like the website doesn't work for them for some reason, they'd like some kind of other way to get information out. How challenging is it to sort of reach everybody with this message? Do you have thoughts on anything that could improve that?
Yeah. Well, if people, let's say people don't have a website that they can look at, they can phone their city councillor. They can phone 311. I know 311 gets bogged down. But if they want to talk to a human, they have the councillor, or they can get through to 311. In today's day and age, it's pretty much website information. We do buy advertising. There is some advertising out there, but the details lay within the website.
Let's talk about the ticketing. So the city has been using electronic parking ticketing systems to enforce the parking ban rather than towing. Why tow on snow routes but not during the residential ban?
Why tow on snow routes but not during the residential
So
ban?
you still will tow a car, I understand, if it's sort of on a winter route on a regular basis. But if you're parked on a residential ban and you get caught on your street and you miss that zone and you're stuck there, instead of being towed now, you'll just automatically get a ticket. So why is that? Why are courtesy tows out the window?
So courtesy tows were costing the city millions of dollars, and we were paying for people that weren't adhering to the rules. The good people were paying for people that weren't adhering to the rules. So we ended that. So when a residential plow is on for the whole duration of the residential ban, people can park on winter routes. They won't be ticketed. They won't be towed because those are primary routes that have been cleaned.
If they're on a winter route, let's just say they're on a winter route when they're not allowed to be on a winter route now. Okay.
During the snow ban, during the residential snow ban, they can park there. They won't get a ticket.
Understood.
They won't get towed.
I just want to make sure I understand this. But let's say there's no residential ban on. They're on a winter route. They're not supposed to be on a winter route.
Right.
They'll still be towed. I understand. And that's because is that because those routes are so important they have to get the equipment back and forth? Yes.
Yes.
Got it. You're not going to leave the car sitting there where you could in a residential area. If you did
you know what, Marcy? There's a lot of narrower streets in our city. We're increasing density and population. A lot of people are parking on the roads. And these winter routes are key collectors. They're key primary routes to have buses and emergency vehicles go through. So we'll just tow.
If someone gets issued an electronic parking ticket, or I guess they won't know yet, when will those tickets start coming in the mail? Do we know what the lag time is for this snow incident?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. Canada Post seems to be working. So I would imagine as soon as the ban is done, they'll be... Yeah, that's a good question. I don't really know, but I'm sure it's probably days.
Yeah.
Not a long time.
We'll start hearing from people once they come, I'm sure.
I know.
Janice Lukes, thank you very much. There has been obviously some confusion around this, and even though we live in a winter city, obviously things are changing, and you guys have changed some of the methods of doing things. So we appreciate you being on with us.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Thank you, Marcy. Merry Christmas to you and all your listeners.
That is Janice Lukes with us live, Winnipeg City Councillor for the Waverley West Ward.